What lays beyond the veil? Have you ever not wanted to be not just staring into the abyss, but the abyss itself? And what sort of formless corruption can you imagine? That is today's theme for Ruinstorm Demons, Demons of the Ruinstorm. This should be a fun one. It's the first expanded rules I've done, the first Legacies of Darkness, and personally I think Legacy, like with Horus Heresy, the only difference between Legacies and regular is that Legacy requires some kit bashing, so that they didn't make it, main form in their books and things like that, but they also still have it for the kit bashers out there that really want to utilize their old loadouts or units. And in this case, the Ruinstorm Demons are really kind of a cool kind of take-all demon. There's ways to kind of play the 4 mono gods, and then there's kind of 4 sort of neutral ones. It comes with more suggestions for the units than, like stated units and things like that. I think the only ones that they print out are like the big demons and the brutes. The brutes are sweet looking models, by the by. But for the most part, you're going to be utilizing other demon models as kind of like, for lack of a better word, proxies. First up, though, let's get into the hobby. I am, doing this show, of course, because I'm really getting into Nurgle demons this year. I've got a Rodigus, and I've got like a kit-bashed Epidemus I made years ago with a bunch of, he's got like a ton of scave in there with him. So, the nice thing, too, is that Nurgle demons can work in 40k, Heresy, and Age of Sigmar, so it's kind of cool. It's like a 3-4 army if anyone's a fan of demons. They still have the index in 40k for demons. I know they're kind of getting folded into the, the Death Guard with the Nurgle demons and World Eaters with the, Khorne demons, but it's nice they still have left, the index there, so you can still play pure demons if you want. And like I'm all about the indexes, extra stuff, the Legacies of Darkness. I love it. I love all, just more content for us to work with, cooler armies to work around. So that is that. If you've got something on your hobby table, please, send a comment. Anything. Always like that, viewer interaction and all that good stuff. And if you get a chance, hit a like and subscribe if that's your thing. And if not, thanks for just watching the video. Appreciate you. So the demons are, Chaos Demons are, probably the penultimate enemy of the Imperium. The Chaos Space Marines, of course, are, one of the most dangerous adversaries, of course, also with Chaos. But, it's the demons of the warp, the pure warp, that is so dangerous, to Psychers, to warp travel. The demons are, what's lurking beyond the veil. And, of course, the Emperor lied about them, saying that there was, no gods, no magic, nothing mystical and anything like that, when fully knowing that, there was, there are demon gods in the warp, that a lot of this, what would be seen as magical power, like psychic ability, is all being derived from the warp, which is full of these, terrible denizens that he didn't warn them about. But, that's neither here nor there. And then, of course, I believe Lorgar discovered them first, and the Taint of Chaos had the first possessed with the Gal Vorback. And then, eventually, Horus falls to Chaos when he is stuck with I believe it's like a Anathame on the planet of Davin, and he fights a bunch of, a Nurgle infestation of, like a Nurgle corruption. So those are kind of 2 of the earliest spots the demons show up. There's a really cool one called Samus, one of Dan Abnett's creations that kind of drives people mad before tearing itself into reality. He shows up in a No Fear. And the demons of the Ruinstorm, by the time you get to the Siege of Terra, they're all over the place. They are, once I think you get to book 3 or 4, they've broken through the psychic barrier, and they can actually start bringing demons onto the ground and whatnot. They still can't get close to the inner sanctum because the Emperor's ward. That's kind of what the Emperor's doing the whole Siege of Terra, is just putting up this psychotic ward. But yeah, there's just lots of demons all over the place. Look for books with word bearers. Look for, even the Sons of Horus later on. Most of the guys like Abaddon and some of the kind of the cool, crucial, original OGs of the Sons of Horus did not like the demons. But Horus himself started working with the word bearers more and more and more, so started bringing in more and more demonic influence. And of course, if you look at Anything with Mortarion, you'll get Nurgle. Anything, you know, with the Thousand Suns, you'll get Tzeentch. Anything with Angron, you'll get Khorne. And, of course, Fulgrim is that Slaanesh. The book Fulgrim actually has quite a bit of, like, Slaaneshi demons. Some really good demon goodness. So if you're looking for a book or a story, we got you. Those are the ones that are going to get you covered. Let's break down the rules. And it's a little bit different than, you know, going through the Tactica and the advanced. They don't have advanced reactions. They don't have their own reactions. They do have what are called like their like demonic cohorts, I believe. But it's 8 different. It's essentially your legion. There's 8 different ones to pick from. They all give your entire army a special rule, and they all unlock different psychic disciplines. So that they all kind of have their own, you know, like little differences and whatnot. Like, it, you know, it's just kind of like sort of. You know, like I said, there's 4 that are like mono god and kind of like, you know, I'm going with the Nurgle one for my Nurgle demons and things like that. But I'm going to break those down for you. And I'm also going to break down the units because I'm not going to go too deep into the stats, but I'm going to give you the model that I think would be a good replacement because they just give you suggestions. They just give you the base size for these models. So I kind of had to do some creative thinking, but I think I've got a good list of, if you're looking to break into them, what these represent. So first and foremost, we'll go through the units. You have your Sovereign, which is going to be your greater demon. It's the only high command you have, so you pretty much are, you know, required to take one. It still buys you that extra reaction, which is pretty cool. They're not as tough as I'd like for a greater demon, especially for one of Nurgle. It's like I think toughness 6 with 7 wounds. It's like a, you know, like a dreadnought. They do have Eternal Warrior, which is going to save a lot of damage on them and whatnot. But this army lacks a lot of shooting. So, you know, you're going to have to be careful with your melee and just try not to get shot off the table. Hide your stuff, you know what I mean? Anyways, the Sovereign's going to be your greater demon. Hierarch is your demon prince. You can buy wings for it or not. And then the Harbinger is like your heralds, like the little, you know, guys that are like the size of a like a poxwalk, or the plague bearers have the like the sloppity bile piper, you know, like that would be kind of like your herald, or your your Harbinger. Next up, they have lesser demons. Those are your poxwalkers, your bloodletters. You can customize them to have claws, swords, or ranged weapons. So that's kind of your take-all, what we're all used to for the troops. They have swarms, which, Nurgling's the easiest one that I could come up with for the swarms. Pretty self-explanatory. Beasts. There's beasts and there's greater beasts. Beasts are on like 50 millimeters, so I was thinking like Beasts of Nurgle, Flesh Hounds, things like that. And then the greater beast is on like a 60 to 80, so I was looking at more like a Hellflare, Horticulus Slimex. It's like not quite a behemoth, but it's definitely bigger than a beast kind of models. Then there is the behemoth itself. The behemoth is a giant bullet sponge. It's kind of what I expected for a greater demon. It's like toughness 7 with 12 wounds, eternal warrior built in there, but it's like it's only weapon skill 3. It's got no AP on its weapons, so it's really just like the biggest bullet sponge out there. I could see myself driving that one up towards the center and, having the enemy try and putting shots into that so that it's saving my sovereigns and my demon princes as they move around the board. Next up are brutes. Brutes, they actually have a model. They have a model on Forge World and whatnot, but, I couldn't really think of a good comparison for the brutes themselves. Maybe juggernauts, although juggernauts, could be cavalry. Like I said, there's a lot of malleableness, and as long as you've talked with your opponent and explained what each model is, you know what I mean, then you're going to be okay. And it's going to be pretty obvious when you look at the models on the field, And then finally, there's 2 more. There's Harriers, which are flyers on 60 millimeters. So I went with Plague Drones for those for Nurgle. And the Cavalry. Cavalry, I did Seekers as the most obvious one. I think you could do I think you could argue Blood Crushers for Brutes or for the Cavalry. And, there's a few other models out there. I can't think of them off the top of my head. But you can definitely, if something is like on horseback or is, centaur-like, then that's going to be your cavalry. If something's on, got wings and is a flyer, that's going to be your Harriers. So we'll dive into the demonic cohorts themselves, and then I'll throw up a little list I've got. I made a couple special characters. You're kind of limited on your prime slots. I didn't see this in the rules themselves, but I was going through on new recruit. Like, you can't give a hierarch Paragon of Battle. I guess it just pushes, for some reason they think that it would make the Demon Prince too powerful. Honestly, I think that, given how powerful things like Saturnine Praetors are, and, even like just a close combat Leviathan and things like that, I think they could have gone a little harder on the toughness and damage of these units, but I still think I think that the demonic cohorts will push them over the edge for you with the special rules. So let's get into them. All of these give you the rule Desecrators, which is really cool. When you are going at the end phase, when you're right before you score, I believe in the status phase, or it might even be in the scoring phase, you make a willpower check. And if you pass, you get line, and you get better line for how much you pass the willpower check for. So if you got it on the spot, you get line 1. If you passed it by 2, you get line 3, and this is on every single model that you have in your army. Every single one of these cohorts gives Desecrators to the models in it. So actually, I think demons are one of the best scoring armies in the game, because, it's kind of on the, it takes a test, but every unit that you have is like troops. Every unit has line built into them. Your greater demons can do it. Your demon princes can do it. Especially your hordes of lesser demons can, get line 2, and then suddenly have, count as 3 models apiece. You can really score high with these guys, I think, on an objective play. I think you're going to be struggling and getting shot up a lot, but I think that, honestly, you can just push the points early on and get enough of a lead. And honestly, if you get into close combat, you're going to do some damage, especially with the Harbingers and the Sovereigns. They hit, as hard as some of the, most powerful Legion Astartes units and things like that. So they do give a lot in combat, I'll give them that. But anyways, starting off, we have Encroaching Ruin. This is kind of like one of the neutrals. It gives everyone Deep Strike and can take Pyromancy, Telekinesis, and Divination. So you get a lot of options with your magic. And Deep Strike, I think, can be used well in this game. You can't charge out a Deep Strike, so it's kind of a hard argument for some of these, but things that have, anything that shoots or has like those template weapons, I think would be useful for deep striking. Next up is Heedless Slaughter. This is going to be your Khorne one. It's pretty simple. Everyone gets Desecrators. All of these, everyone gets Desecrators, so I won't be repeating that. But Heedless Slaughter can never be the focus of a Psychic Blessing or a Curse. So they are just immune to psychic powers. I thought that was really cool. It's kind of a fire and forget rule. You just don't even, it's like, don't have to remember it. It's just always there, always on. Next up, this one's really cool. Of course, I'm going to say that, but it's Putrid Corruption. This would be your Nurgle. It gives everyone a Feel No Pain 6-up. Bing. Makes everyone heavy, which makes sense. You're slow. And then if you're bulky, it gives you Explode on a 5-up. This cool, everyone's full of that like cauldrons of Nurgle disgustingness, and they pop and explode everywhere when you kill them. Just really cool. Feel No Pain 6-up is going to be huge. When I was talking about how I was kind of lacking on the defense for some of these units, that Feel No Pain is really going to push them up and above, especially on your whole army. 6-up, could be a 5-up be better, but still. 1 in 6 chance to completely ignore damage is fantastic. They also get Biomancy, which I think is really good. Makes sense, like the mutation, like the bodily horror, growing. And plus they get the Biomatic Slam, so it's some anti-vehicle, which is kind of hard to find in this list. Next up, Rapturous Sensation, also fantastic. Any non-heavy unit gains light. Whew. There's not a ton of heavy units in there, so just the speed of that army, and then they get Telepathy and Telekinesis. Both are kind of good for giving statuses, receiving statuses, and Telekinesis especially gets that Bubble Shield, which is really powerful. Next up is Formless Distortion. This I think is kind of the Tzeentch one. It's crazy. Negative D3 to setup moves when they charge you. That is crucial, I think. Even just getting rid of 1 inch on somebody's charge or setup move, like minus D3, that's really going to help you not get struck in before you can do volley fire, or you can use Overwatch. Even without the best shooting in the world, that's going to help you out quite a bit. Or just not letting them get their charges off so that you can get your charge off. You also get Divination and Telepathy with the Formless Distortion. Pretty cool. Next is the Infernal Tempest. You get pyromancy and a flame. A flame is like once you, I believe, hit in close combat, they have a -1 to leadership. So it's even more of a, debuff on their leadership. So if you're winning, really cool, but even if you're not winning, you get a little bonus. Ravenous Dissolution is kind of like the anti-demon demons. The entire army gets Hatred Malefic and Hatred Psyker. I should say that every unit that you have is Malefic, of course, in the Demons of Ruinstorm army. I think that one's going to be really good against some team-ups, but it's kind of the odd duck out, in my opinion. It does give you telepathy, divination, and telekinesis, so you've got a good Swiss Army knife of psychic abilities to work with. So it does have that going for it. And if you're going against Thousand Suns, or if you're going against, Psychers, or, if you're doing demons on demons, like, then it'll be fantastic. Finally, there's the Malevolent Artifice. This one's really cool. You get Armor Breaker 4-up on your whole army. So that means if you do a penetrating hit on a 4-up, you'll do an extra point of damage. That'll kind of really help push, the anti-vehicle in an army that's, not lacking in it, but, just kind of has like really strong melee for it. And finally, it also lets you include a prime slot that buys a Mechanicum unit. So you can put in Mechanicum units in your different detachments and things like that, just like a logistical benefit there, the log Benny. So yeah, that's the 8 of them. Thanks for sticking with me. I know that was a lot of information coming at you, but for today, we're just going to focus on Putrid Corruption with that Feel No Pain 6-up, heavy, and bulky units getting Explodes 5-up. We'll go right into the list. I have made, this time I made my Sovereign my main character. I name my character under one of the commands because they get the prime slots and whatnot. But prime slots are so limited in here that, and plus it's a, Demon Sovereign. It's like your big greater, great unclean one for me. So I named mine Strepticus, Lord Strepticus. He took the Sovereign Great Blade, which is kind of like taking a Power Fist for your leader with a little bit more punch to it. And of course I bought Biomancy. Command, I was talking about all the psychic abilities that you get. Those are only available to champion and command units. I should have been a little more clear on that. But, pretty much I bought Biomancy for every single one of my characters. So my Crusade Primary Detachment is going to be the Ruinstorm Sovereign, Strepticus, leading everybody. I've got a Ruinstorm Demon Harbinger, who's going to be kind of like the Herald. I did give him Paragon of Battle, which pushes him up to Weapon Skill 6. So they're kind of like lieutenants, you know what I mean? Or I should say Centurions. Sorry, wrong millennium. But Paragon of Battle on him, it just makes him a little bit more crucial. The Harbingers also have a really cool ability where they can summon units on reserves onto the field. Pretty cool, and it's not limited like Deep Strike, where they can actually still charge out of it. So honestly, 2 Harbingers could be handy if you want to do some Deep Strike mess up, tactics. My Hierarch, I gave him wings and a Great Blade, kind of like that, pretty much like it's like the Power Fist, my Power Fists. And I also gave him Biomancy. He'll be flying around, really doing some damage and winning some combats with that Great Blade. And Biomancy can give you a +2 to Strength and a +2 to Toughness when you charge. So I think that's going to be where the Nurgle Toughness really comes in. For troops, I took 2 things of 6 swarms apiece, so 6 Nurglings twice, and then I took 20 lesser demons, which would be my Plague Bearers. I took 20 of them with Demon Claws and 20 of them with Infernal Blades. And I'm pretty much just going to tell my, I'm going to paint them slightly different colors and just let them know which ones have the blades and which ones have the claws. Because I think they all have like rusty weapons and things like that. Next up, I took a auxiliary tactical support so I could fit my Greater Demon Beast. Greater Demon Beast just has Great Maw and Talon, but that 6-up Feel No Pain and Heavy is going to, really make it, give them resistance to status effects and all sorts of, and damage. Ruinstorm Demon Behemoth. I took another heavy support. I'll probably use the Glotkin for this, because I've got Rodigus, I want to get a Great Unclean one, and I want to use a 3rd Great Unclean one, but to kind of keep things cool, and most of my friends are okay with proxies and stuff like that. The Glotkin is just like a big old, one of the biggest Nurgle models that exists. I think he'd be perfect for the Behemoth. Next up, I took a Shock Assault. That's where you get the Brutes. Brutes are really very good. Strength 5, like AP 3, 2 damage with Breaching 5 up, I think. They're going to be really good into Space Marines and even good into Terminators and things like that. So I took 2 squads of 6. They should get quite a bit of damage done for me. And then finally, actually not finally, I took the Apex Detachment Officer Cadre just because I wanted to get another Demon Prince in there. And, you know, this one I gave Combat Veterans to give him better status resistance and also to boost up his willpower for when he's using his Biomancy. That was the prime advantage I took for him. And honestly, there are no elites in the demons of the Ruinstorm, nor are there retinue units. So I figured, you know, the Apex Detachment might as well buy myself another command instead. And then finally, I took a Lord of War. There are 3 Lords of War you can take. There's Samus, Kabanda, and Korvax Utterblight. So Korvax Utterblight is going to be, you know, my third Great Unclean one. I'll probably use Rodigus as the model for him. Just a he's got like 10 wounds, toughness 7, Eternal Warrior 1. He's got that Feel No Pain 5 up, I think. He is kind of what I imagine the real Great Unclean one is of the Ruins of Demonstorm. So the Behemoth, the Sovereign, and Korvax, I've got 3 Great Unclean ones on the list. And that should be, you know, 3 is the prime, the trifecta, the trilobe of Nurgle. So I'm really excited. Nurgle has always been one of my favorite, you know, just factions, I should say, in all of Warhammer, and just kind of one of the ideal and idea of it is really cool. So yeah, this should be a fun list to put together. I'm gonna be working on it this year. Still finishing the Alpha Legion, of course. Yeah, let me know what you think, or if you've got your own, you know, your own Ruinstorm Demons list. My buddy has a Tzeentch list. I might do a little showcase of it one day if I see it when him and I get to play some Heresy. But yeah, keep on hobbying, everybody. I hope you had a good time, and happy Thursday. Take care.